Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a little different because I'm going to be cooking and I'm also going to be doing a small story time. In my first video, my introducing myself video, I told you guys that I have a baby girl and a baby boy that are about a year apart, and that I was going to be making a video on how I got pregnant while I was on birth control. So I thought, why not go ahead and add it to this video. I am going to be making today frijoles charros, and in between I'm going to be talking to you guys. Also, if you don't know how to make frijoles charros, maybe this is the perfect time for you to learn. So if you're interested, then please keep on watching. These are the ingredients I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using some cilantro, some chiles jalapeños. I like my frijoles to be a little spicy, so in this case I'm going to use 3. If you like for yours to be a little more spicy, you could add a few more. I'm going to be using 2 tomato romas, only because my husband doesn't really like too much tomatoes in his beans. Original bacon. I personally like the chicken hot dogs. Pinto beans. Onion. Salt. Garlic powder or garlic salt. And I'm also going to be using some Knorr el sabor de pollo. So next we're going to give our veggies a little rinse, our cilantro, our chiles, and our tomato. We're going to clean our beans, and by cleaning I mean picking out the nice looking beans. Also, because inside the bag comes small pieces of trash or small rocks, we don't want to bite into our frijoles once they're ready and accidentally bite into a rock. So after I pick out my beans, after cleaning them, I put them inside a bowl. Now that I've cleaned my beans, I am going to rinse them with water. I rinse mine about 3 times. I like to make sure that they're very clean. You can also leave your beans overnight. Say for example, you're going to make frijoles charros the next day. A day before, you can go ahead and rinse them and then leave them in water overnight. They actually cook quicker once they're left overnight in water. In a small pot because my mom is coming over today, and I'm going to be making some for my husband and for me as well. Also, I'm going to be cooking some chicken in the oven. I'm going to season it, and I'm going to be putting it in the oven because my mom has cholesterol. So I'm going to be having some frijoles charros, some chicken, and also some spaghetti verde. So that's why I'm cooking. That's why I'm only going to be using this much of beans. This is about how much water I'm going to be adding to my beans. You want to kind of drown them. About that much, because my pot is small. I don't want the water to be spilling out of the pot. So, but you can always go back whenever your beans need more water. You can always go back and check on them and add more water. My beans on the stove. I'm going to turn on my stove on low. And then I'm also going to add some onion, 1 garlic clove, and some salt. And that is so that my beans could grab some of that good flavor from the garlic and from the onion. Also don't want to add too much salt because we have the rest of the ingredients, which is the bacon, the weenies. We're also going to be adding some garlic salt and the Knorr, and that's going to give your beans more flavor. So we want to wait a little bit towards the end to check up on our beans to see if it needs flavor, and if they do need flavor, then we'll add some more salt. Pot of beans, I cut a piece of aluminum paper, and I'm going to, with a knife, poke a little hole so that the steam could come out through that small hole. I'm going to start cutting my bacon into small pieces. I think I'm actually today going to use only half because I'm not going to be making a lot of frijoles charros. Next, I'm going to cut my weenies. I'm going to check up on my beans and give them a little stir. By stirring them, I could still feel that they're hard, so they're still not ready. It's been about almost an hour since I put them on the stove. So stay on the stove for 30 minutes and then we're gonna check up on them again. Next, I will be cutting my onion, and I'm only going to be using half and cutting it into small pieces. And then my tomatoes. My jalapeños. And lastly, my cilantro. So here I have my weenies, my bacon, my cilantro, tomato and onion. No, I'm sorry, onion and tomato and jalapeños. And then I'm going to check again on my beans. My beans need a little more water, so I'm going to add that. So neither one of my babies were planned. I had went to Mexico to visit family that I have over there, and when I came back in January, my husband surprised me with a ring. He proposed to me and I of course said yes. Then we got married through court in August 30th, and then we picked a date because we also needed time to save up money and also to plan our wedding. The church's office in the town where I used to live, and they gave us a date that was open. It was available on a Saturday, and it was the following year, April 8th. But on my wedding day, I was pregnant and I had no idea. I was a week pregnant with my daughter and I had no idea. I was actually drinking that night because I really did not know that I was pregnant. I didn't feel any different. So I ended up finding out because I took a pregnancy test. I had missed my period. All the planning of the wedding, I just lost track of my menstrual cycle, and I thought about it when we were barely into the month of April, like, did I get my period? Did I miss my period? I was even asking my husband, do you remember if I told you that I got my period? And he didn't. So to be more sure and more safe, I took about 2 home pregnancy tests, and I also set up an appointment at the clinic. And there at the clinic, they told me that I was pregnant. So fast forwarding to my daughter being born. At birth, my daughter weighed 8 pounds, 6 ounces, and 19 inches. I'm sorry, 8 pounds, 6 ounces, and 21 inches long. So then, you know, I really, this was my first pregnancy. I really had no idea. So my husband and I had to talk, like, okay, you know, we have our baby, we're so happy. So now, you know, let's give us some time with our daughter and maybe go for baby number 2 in about 2-3 years. So we were using protection. After giving birth, I went to the clinic and they were talking to me about which birth control I was planning on taking. It's about, you know, some of the birth control, and I thought that the best one for me would be the Nexplanon, because when I was on birth control, I was on the pill and I would get nauseous, I would get headaches, would also forget about taking my pill. So I knew that with the newborn I was not really going to be on track with taking my pill every single day. So I decided on the Nexplanon, and they told me that for a week I couldn't have sex. Later I scheduled my next appointment at the clinic, and my second appointment was to give them an answer on what I had decided on. Because I was leaning towards the Nexplanon and the pill, I decided it was better for me to take the Nexplanon. Next appointment was going to be in 2 weeks, and they told me that I could have sexual intercourse with my husband, but we had to use protection. Well, I remember that one of those days we didn't use protection, and I didn't feel any different. I was waiting for my period to get here by the end of the month. So I went into my appointment and they took a pregnancy test and it was negative. So I knew I wasn't pregnant. My next appointment was going to be in a week, and that appointment they were going to put in the Nexplanon. So again, I didn't feel any different. My next appointment came around and it was so weird because I had missed my period. That month had ended and I still hadn't gotten my period. Nexplanon was already in, and I took the 4 home pregnancy tests and they all came up positive, and I freaked out. I made an appointment at the clinic and I told the girl that I might be pregnant. She was like, "Are you sure? Because we took a pregnancy test and it came out negative." And I said, "Yes, I took 4 home pregnancy tests and they all came positive." And she asked which pregnancy test did I use, and I told her Clear Blue. So she was on her computer and she turned around as soon as I said Clear Blue, and her eyes were wide open, and she said, "You're pregnant." She said that Clear Blue is the best pregnancy test out there. After my appointment, I made sure to ask my doctor if my baby was at any risk, you know. And she said that it was okay, that my baby was in no danger because the Nexplanon doesn't let out too much hormones. And so I had to get my Nexplanon removed. I had to get a mini surgery because when I went in, I couldn't find it, and I freaked out. She was just like rubbing on my arm and rubbing on my arm, trying to see if she can, you know, make it go down, because it had gravitated. It had went upper in my arm. So I had to schedule an appointment at this special hospital, and the nurse came in when I went to my appointment, and she was again rubbing on my arm to see if she could make it come down a little. And so she couldn't, and she left it alone, and she left me waiting in the room while she went and helped somebody else that had an appointment that same day that was in another room. So I was laying there and I was praying, please, 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 God, let them take this thing out today. And after like maybe 15 minutes, she came back and she touched my arm and she was like, okay, well, I was able to bring it down a little. I can take it out today. Do you want to take it out today? And I said yes. Kind of nervous, but I was just thinking about my baby at that point, and I knew that it was best. So yeah, it was actually pretty quick, and there was like a little pinch and that was it. My daughter was 3 months when I got pregnant with my baby boy. I ended up finding out I was gonna have a boy, and my son at birth came out weighing 8 pounds, 9 ounces, and 19 inches long. So they were about the same. My son was just a little chubbier than my daughter was. So I took off my aluminum off my beans. I put them to the back on my stove, and in the front where I had my beans, I put a pan, and in that pan I'm going to add first my bacon. So my beans are already ready. I checked them by grabbing one bean, and it was just the right texture. I don't like it too soft, but I do like it soft, if that makes sense. My bacon. Why the bacon? Because the oil or the grease that the bacon lets out is the oil that we're gonna use to fry a little bit or cook a little bit our weenies, and then the rest of our veggies. Once my bacon is cooked, I'm going to add it into my beans, and then next will be the weenies. And once they're cooked the way that I want them, then I'll put them inside my beans, and then I'm going to add the onion. After the onion, I'm going to add the jalapeños, and after the jalapeños, I'm going to add the tomato, and lastly, I'm going to be adding the cilantro, and then I'm going to be adding the garlic powder, and I'm gonna let it sit about 5 minutes. Once I go back and I taste check it, then if it's flavor, I won't add anything, and if it needs some more flavor, then I'll add some salt. So when my bacon is ready, I'm gonna go ahead and add it to my beans, but I try to be careful. You guys will see that I kind of lean my pan a little bit to try to have some oil left over for the rest of my ingredients. To stir my weenies a little frequent, and I also don't let them sit too long because I don't want them to get burned. The pan stays a little hot after cooking your bacon, so I also lower it down the temperature on the stove a little bit and let them sit for a little bit and stir. So they're almost ready. So on my pan I still have my onion, and it's almost ready to be added to my pot of beans. And finally, my tomatoes. So something came up and I had to just hurry up and finish cooking, and get to show you guys the last part where I added my garlic powder and I added some Nor Suiza because I tasted my frijoles when they were done, and they needed a little more flavor. So after that I let it sit on the stove with low heat for 5 minutes, and they were finally ready to eat. I really hope you guys liked this video and I was good at explaining things. And I hope that when you guys try to make your frijoles, I hope they come out delicious.